Welcome to the Purpose-Based Retirement with certified financial planner Casey Weade. Casey is the president of Howard Bailey Financial.
Whatever risk you face during your retirement years, we've got a plan.
A published author and radio host.
It's not how much we make during the good times, it's how much we keep during those really bad times.
His advocacy for retirees and pre-retirees has made him a sought-after speaker and trusted financial leader.
And putting a real plan together.
This is the Purpose-Based Retirement.
Good to see you again. I am Lee Kelso here today with Casey Weade, certified financial planner and the president of Howard Bailey Financial. We're going to begin the program today with 5 new retirement account rules that you need to know about. New things coming down that will affect your investments. Also, Marshall Johnson, vice president at Howard Bailey, will be with us in just a moment. We'll be talking about the difference between a CFP, an IAR, an investment manager. What roles do all those people play, and with whom might you be talking? So all that's ahead. We hope you'll stay all the way through the program. I want to begin, though, with those changes, the 5 new rules that are affecting investment accounts that really it's significant and things we talked about on the program before, the most important one, and that has to do with fiduciary responsibility.
Yeah, there's never really been a uniform fiduciary standard across financial advisors, and this is a law that's being passed by the Department of Labor, and it will go into effect in April of 2017. And the goal of this is to pass that uniform fiduciary standard and protect retirees mainly, which gives advisors a legal responsibility to put your needs ahead of their own. This will also allow them to only receive what they would call reasonable compensation, as well as disclose any potential conflicts of interest, which don't necessarily have to be disclosed today. So this goes into effect in April of 2017, and something to keep in mind is this only pertains to 401k and IRA accounts. So it only pertains to retirement accounts. That might surprise you. Well, you say, well, what about all those other things out there? What about my brokerage account, my taxable accounts, and things like that? Well, they won't have a fiduciary responsibility on those accounts. They will still be falling under a suitability standard. So they don't have to disclose all those conflicts of interest. Reasonable compensation isn't part of the equation, but you can still ask them that they act in a fiduciary capacity in regards to those other accounts as well.
So back up a second. What do I want to hear when I ask them, do you have a fiduciary responsibility in this regard?
Yes.
The answer is yes. Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
Right?
Right. Yeah. There are also some changes coming down the line in IRA contributions. So what's up with that?
Yeah, IRA contributions are being expanded. IRA charitable contributions are also a really big thing. And this is something that's been around since 2006. Back in 2006, you could make IRA charitable contributions, but it wasn't permanent until there was an appropriations bill back in December of 2015 that made this law go into permanency. And that means that if you're over the age of 70 and a half, you can take those required distributions and you can send them directly to a qualified charitable institution, and they never have to hit your tax return. And now that has actually been made permanent. Now there are limits on that. You can only do up to $100,000 a year, but there aren't too many people that are going to fall into that category willing to give away $100,000 a year that can more like afford to give away $100,000 a year. But if you are charitably minded, maybe you don't have children, you want to leave those assets behind to a charity, this is one of those many different things that you can do tax-wise to be a huge benefit to you and help cut Uncle Sam out of your will and put that money where you really want it to go to use.
Yeah, that is kind of a neat thing to do with your IRA, but now we have something new called not the IRA, but the MYRA. Explain that.
Right, we have the MyRA, and that's a My Retirement Account. This is a federal savings program that came about because there's really only about 1 out of every 3 adult individuals have any retirement savings whatsoever. And that's really, you could call it an epidemic and a major concern for the future of our country. And so they have created something called MyRA. And they did this with the small saver in mind, the low middle income individual who says their number one reason that they don't have a retirement account is because their employer doesn't offer a 401k or some type of retirement plan for them to allocate those dollars to on a pre-tax basis or an after-tax after-tax basis in this instance, the MyRA will act just like a Roth IRA. And so it will be a Roth IRA type of retirement account, and it's for individuals that can start putting a small amount of dollars away. We can only have up to $15,000 in this account. We can put as much as $5,500 in it every year, just like an IRA or a Roth IRA, with a $1,000 catch-up contribution for over the age of 50. There's no fees for the account, there's no account minimums, and there's no contribution minimums either. And there's no cost to employers. And so those are the four biggest things that people say are the reason that they don't have a retirement account. And now I think one of the neatest things is I meet a lot of employers who don't want to establish a 401k because the cost burden to the company of establishing that 401k, now they can go directly to myra.com and establish a retirement plan that can allow those distributions and contributions directly out of your paycheck. And that's a really neat thing for employers and employees.
Yes, it is indeed. So they're also coming down the pike are higher limits to your Roth IRA contributions. That's a great idea.
Yeah, the limits to the contributions aren't changing a whole lot, but your income limits are. Income limits are inflation adjusted and they have increased. So recently we think about an individual, they can have an income of up to $117,000, and that's when that phase out begins, to make those Roth contributions up to about $132,000 on the high end. So 117 to 132 is your phase out now to make a Roth contribution. And for people that are married couples that are filing jointly, they can have $184,000 to $194,000 and still be able to contribute to a Roth IRA. And that's a really neat thing for you to do, whether you have an employer plan at work or not, is start to make those contributions.
So this one I've not heard of before, but the expanded access to the Savers Credit. I don't really know about the Savers Credit.
The Savers Credit is a really neat incentive for those low to middle income people who are trying to get something saved, and it gives them an extra incentive to make a contribution to a retirement account over and above what they would receive if they left it in, say, a savings account. And so this allows individuals that have around a $30,000 income, or couples that have no more than a $60,000 annual income, to make not only those contributions, but to then get a tax credit of 10 to 50% of what was actually put into the account. So it's kind of like getting a match if you put your money in a Roth IRA. They're actually giving you some cash back when you file your taxes, up to $2,000 for individuals, $4,000 for couples. What a great incentive for people to get in there and start saving for retirement.
That absolutely is. So it's good to hear the government got something right.
Yeah.
Well, no political comment there. We'll just leave it at that. How's that? Hey, we want you to be one of the next 10 people to take advantage of our offer of the day, and that is for the next 10 folks who call right now. It's a complimentary financial review of your entire financial and retirement plan. It's an opportunity to learn more about your money, what it is doing, and what it could be doing for you, so you can make the best decisions possible as you move forward. So for the next 10 callers, Casey and the team will make time on the calendar to sit down and visit with you and give you your very own purpose-based retirement. Marshall Johnson joins us next. We'll be talking a little bit more about what all those abbreviations and certifications mean with the person you are working with.
Hi, I'm Casey Weade, a certified financial planner practitioner and the president of Howard Bailey Financial. Do you feel that your financial professional should put your interests above all else? Well, I do, but Wall Street doesn't. While lobbyists seek to delay a universal fiduciary duty on all retirement accounts across the financial services industry, you can begin working with an advisory team that's ahead of the curve. Don't you want to work with someone who puts your interests ahead of their own? If you said yes, then give us a call today.
You need a plan for retirement to create the lifestyle you've always dreamed of. The first step is to tune into the Purpose-Based Retirement Radio Hour with your hosts, Casey Weade and Marshall Johnson, every Saturday morning at 11 and Sunday afternoon at 1 on 1190 WOWO and 107.5 FM.
And welcome back to the program. Marshall Johnson, the Vice President at Howard Bailey Financial, has joined us today. Marshall recently achieved his Certified Financial Planner designation.
That's true.
Congratulations on that. I know that's a
you.
lot of tough work.
Yes.
But there are a lot of different people in the investment world with lots of different titles and roles, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is just how you can better understand the qualifications of the person you're working with.
Right.
So if I'm working with a financial planner, what does that tell me?
Well, I think that's one of those big questions is, do I have an advisor? Do I have a planner? All this alphabet soup, just what you discussed in the open there. But when you're working with a financial planner, this is somebody that's assessing your situation, analyzing your situation, and then putting a long-term plan together, not just for your investments, Lee, but also for your estate, for your tax planning, and for your insurance needs.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get wrapped up in, well, I'm working with an investment advisor, or I'm working with a portfolio manager, or I'm working with a broker, or I'm working with a financial planner, financial advisor.
Right.
All these things kind of get muddled together, and there really should be, if there's not a difference, and it is a term that's widely unregulated, it should be, I think, more highly regulated. So when we're working with a financial planner, it's not someone that just has an insurance license who can sell us an annuity, or a broker who can sell us a stock or a bond or a mutual fund. It's someone who's looking at your financial situation, taking a 30,000-foot view, and starting to put together a comprehensive plan to fill all those gaps. It's not just about investing. It's not just about portfolio management. It's about the big picture and making sure that you can step into retirement knowing that you've got all those potential liabilities covered. How else are you going to be able to spend with confidence without knowing that?
So what is a portfolio manager's role?
Yeah, that's a great question, because a portfolio manager's role is to actively manage investments, whether those are stock portfolios, bond portfolios, hedge funds, somebody that's actually managing the individual investments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think, well, isn't that what my financial planner's for? Isn't that what your financial advisor's for? Is to manage my investments? And that's really not the case. I mean, ask yourself this, is your financial advisor busy? If he's not, I think we've got a whole nother problem. But is your financial advisor busy? If he's busy or she's busy, then they're managing their office, they're managing their team, they're managing their business, they're meeting with new clients and new potential clients that are coming through that door, trying to manage existing clients and their financial plan. They should be so busy that they have very little time to actually manage your investments. And I think any advisor who's being totally blunt and totally honest with you is going to tell you, no, I don't have time to manage your individual investments. But what do they typically do? They say, oh, we can do that. We'll throw it into a few mutual funds and we'll meet 2 or 3 times a year and rebalance those things. Well, that's not giving the people that I'm working with the hands-on approach that they're looking for. They want someone that they know is not just the guy down the street who read a few books and feels like he's a good trader, but they want a team who's actively managing that portfolio every single day with PhDs and CFAs and economics and being in the mix every day. You have to live it. Otherwise, you have to go to a mutual fund.
So doesn't that cost me more?
Yeah, that's one of those common misconceptions is that, well, if you're doing all this, if I'm getting a customized plan, if I'm getting this level of detail to my financial planning, it's certainly got to cost me more, right?
You would think.
And the reality is, Lee, that as technology has improved, there's one area that this business has really come to be beneficial for the clients, and it's really we can do more with less in the way of fees today. I sat down with somebody the other day that had a 401k, and they said, Marshall, no offense, but I'm not paying an advisor. I'm not paying anyone to manage my 401k. Why would I want to work with you? And when we dug in and looked at his risk and his cost, we could actually do it for less cost than what he was paying his 401k.
Right.
So doesn't always mean more cost,
No,
right, Casey?
it doesn't. I mean, our costs in order to work with individuals on a comprehensive basis, not just managing their investments, but on a comprehensive basis, is less than the average cost of your U.S.-based mutual fund, which a U.S.-based mutual fund can cost almost 2% a year. We can get in and manage your investments, your tax life, your complete financial plan, and do it at a lesser cost than most people that are walking through our doors are paying today. And some people are paying less than they're going to pay us. They're going to pay us more, but they're going to do that because of the perceived value or the actual value that they actually get out of working with us. And that might be just simple peace of mind. Maybe it's nothing more than peace of mind knowing that you've got a team to rely on and somebody that you can sit down and work with as a quarterback or as a coach for your financial life. It might be that small, or it might be much bigger than that too, and we're doing extensive tax and estate planning and things like that.
So why don't more people operate like you guys do, where you've got that long-term 30,000-foot view?
Well, Casey, I'm sure you could inject some things here, but for me, Lee, it's a little bit of a bias. Maybe it's an unwillingness to change, maybe it's ego, maybe it's profitability, because honestly, if we're doing everything in-house, then we get to keep all the profits.
I mean, I think you
right?
could do a lot of those things from your own experience, though, too. I mean, when I first found Marshall, we've been great friends for a number of years, and he was working in an industry that was all mutual funds all the time, and it was just about portfolio management. You actually pick the individual mutual funds, you rebalance portfolios every once in a while, and that was just what you did. I don't think it was something you set out to say, okay, well, we're not going to do comprehensive planning. It was just that that's not how the company you worked for was built.
Right.
And this whole industry, the whole financial industry has been built on Wall Street. And that whole Wall Street life is about not anything much more than selling a product, whether that's mutual funds or stocks or bonds. It's not about planning for retirement, and this is a relatively new profession at the same time. I mean, financial planning really wasn't necessary even 20 years ago for the majority of individuals, because you could go out and get a 7% CD and put all your eggs in that one basket, maybe a few different baskets of bonds, municipal bonds,
many people had
CDs,
pensions
and you had pensions. And today we're getting to a point where people are living as long in retirement, and maybe even longer than they actually worked. And now that takes a much higher level of planning in order to know that, hey, I mean, this is kind of like a serious ailment when we're stepping into retirement without an income for 30 years maybe or more. We need to make sure we have all of our bases covered. And that sometimes takes the work of a professional, someone that can offer you that peace of mind.
So let's go at this the other way. If I'm working with a broker, for example, what am I not getting?
Well, go ahead.
I think largely you're not getting the cracks filled in the management of that investment portfolio, right? And what are you getting? You're getting investing. And what's the, I mean, in the age of low-cost investment options today, what's the point of even investing with a broker when you could go out and get a robo-advisor or buy a few index mutual funds and dollar cost average into the market and pay less than 0.5% a year? I think the age of brokers is going to be something that'll be long behind us over the next few years. You know, we don't need that level anymore. The only reason you're ever going to work with a financial professional isn't so you can get access to the markets, because you can get that on your own. Right. It's going to be the ability to sit down and have a coach that can help do your tax planning, do your income plan. Is it the right time to do a Roth conversion? Should I be heavier on the fixed income side, more on the equity side? Can I get guaranteed income? Because your broker can't give you guaranteed income. The only way you're going to get that is working with a comprehensive, independent financial planner.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit about our experience together, but it's an evolution, and I think financial services is really evolving. And it used to be you had to have somebody broker that deal between you and Wall Street, because we didn't have the internet, we didn't have technology. Right. You paid a premium for that service. So many of those things have changed, Lee, but now it's about an evolution and making sure that your advisor, your broker, is doing the things that you need them to do today.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard enough of the stories that you've told about your clients and people you've worked with, how your experience allows you to surface a need or a hidden threat that they just did not know about.
Yeah, quite often I'm sitting down with individuals that say, I've never thought about that before. And some of the neatest things have to do with taxes. I mean, I had a CPA that I worked with, and as I'm working with that CPA, sharing with him how we could fill that tax bracket every single year and pay less in taxes dramatically over their lifetime, because we're going to reduce their RMD, we're going to reduce Social Security taxes, all these things that were just never thought about before. And when he walked in, he said, I've really got all my bases covered. Then he walked out going, wow, I never thought about that before. And these are very smart individuals that just don't live and breathe this every day.
So I hope that's why you'll be one of the next 10 people who pick up the phone and take advantage of the offer we're offering today. And that is, if you're one of the next 10 folks who call 482-9559, you'll be able to sit down with these guys and get a complimentary financial review of your entire financial and retirement plan. It's that opportunity to learn so much more about your money so you can make the best decisions possible for yourself, for your family, moving forward. So for the next 10 callers, Casey and the team are willing to make some time on the calendar to visit with you and give you your very own purpose-based retirement. All right, here's our question of the day. What is the most popular 401k investment? Is that an equity mutual fund, a bond mutual fund, balanced mutual fund, or a company stock fund? Casey's got the answer coming up.
You don't walk into a doctor's office for some blanket prescription for whatever ails you. You expect individualized attention, a doctor who listens, and a treatment prescribed to meet your specific need. When it comes to your financial future, why expect anything less? If you would like an independent checkup from an independent advisor with access to hundreds of possible solutions to help you meet your goals, contact us today.
You need a plan for retirement to create the lifestyle you've always dreamed of. The first step is to tune into the Purpose-Based Retirement Radio Hour with your hosts, Casey Weade and Marshall Johnson, every Saturday morning at 11 and Sunday afternoon at 1 on 1190 WOWO and 107.5 FM.
Our question of the day had to do with what is the most popular place people put their 401k investments. We gave you several choices: an equity mutual fund, a bond fund, balanced mutual fund, or company stock funds. And Casey, what's the correct answer?
The correct answer, Lee, is A, and that's an equity-based mutual fund. By far the most popular 401k investment today, right behind or right in front of a bond fund, I should say. And that means that most retirees, as they step into retirement, have everything in equity mutual funds and bond mutual funds. Everything's wrapped up in these different mutual fund portfolios, and you may find this for yourself, that you've been chipping away at that paycheck every single month, every single week, maybe bi-weekly or weekly, and dollar cost averaging into your 401k. And that was a great thing, because your one goal was to grow enough and get enough in that account so that someday you could retire. It was growth at all cost mentality, and now you find yourself stepping into retirement. And now that you're stepping into retirement, how are things allocated? Is everything in that 401k in mutual funds? Is it in stock and bond mutual funds? You have a few different advisors and everything's still in mutual funds. You feel like you're in a lot of different baskets, but really everything's in one type of investment, a mutual fund. Maybe you find that over the years you've went to this seminar and you went to this advisor and your neighbor down the street, and you bought a life insurance policy. You ended up buying a term policy here, an annuity here, or a mutual fund, a portfolio over here, and you ended up with all these different things. And what are they supposed to help you accomplish? At this point in your life, there's 4 things that money's supposed to help you accomplish. And I always ask people this question: what's this money mean to you? And I want you to think hard about that. If you've never thought about this before, if you've only paid attention to one part of this show, I want you to remember this: what does that money mean to me? And what's it supposed to help me accomplish? Most people will say this: well, it's to take care of income for the rest of my life. Make sure I never run out of money. It's supposed to take care of any major healthcare problems I might have in the future. If we see inflation, I might need extra income in the future. And then whatever's left, I want to leave behind in the most tax efficient manner possible. And if I have an emergency along the way, I want to know a place I can go and get that. Is that one investment vehicle going to help you accomplish all those different things? Are you looking for the silver bullet? Because there isn't a silver bullet that exists in the world that we live in today. But a lot of people are looking for these different things. They're looking for one vehicle that can leave them a legacy behind, guarantee their principal, give them all the upside of the market, none of the downside. We don't want to pay any fees, preferably FDIC insured, and a lifetime of guaranteed income. Unfortunately, there's pros and cons to every single type of investment. Everybody wants these 3 things. They want liquidity. I want to be able to get back my money anytime that I want it. I want to be able to have growth. I want to make 10% a year, and I want to have protection of my principal. The unfortunate thing is today that we live in a different world than we lived in 10 or 20 years ago. We can't get a 7% fixed rate today or a 10% fixed rate. We're in one of the lowest interest rate environments in history, and we're seeing stock market valuations at nosebleed levels. But we can't have 2 things at a time. We can have liquidity and safety. We can have liquidity and growth, or we can have safety and growth. This is why it's so important that we focus on the specific purpose that you want those dollars to accomplish for you during your retirement years, because every time you put a bigger emphasis on one thing, you're going to have to give up something in another area. Those 4 areas are 4 areas that every retiree has. Often you may have only been thinking about your retirement as an asset and trying to accumulate as much as possible and get the biggest return as you possibly could. Now we have to also focus on the liabilities. Those liabilities are liquidity for emergencies, income that's reliable and can last a lifetime, growth for inflation protection, and estate planning that can fill in some of those gaps. So what are the right types of vehicles to have in those 4 different buckets? First, we have liquidity. When it comes to liquidity, where are some places we can go? We can go to CDs, we can go to money markets, we can go to savings accounts, and maybe we have that overflow emergency savings that we want to earn a higher rate of return, going to some type of MEC or a modified endowment contract where we stay liquid, but it might take a couple weeks to get our savings, but at least we're making 3 to 5%. Then we get over to that income bucket. So we've put together maybe 3 months to 24 months in our liquidity bucket. Now we need to create income for our retirement years. That might be using investment grade bonds, maybe municipal investment grade bonds, annuities even, and maybe even some type of dividend portfolio. Throw in your pension and Social Security planning in there at the same time. Once we've taken care of income, then we can still take some risk. And this is a thing you might be saying to yourself, I'm stepping into retirement, I can no longer afford to take the risk of the market. And why do you say that? Because you have immediate needs that you've never before had. Now you have income needs every single month in order to get you through your retirement years. But all we need to do is buy you some time to take that risk, because you might still be investing for the next 20 or 30, maybe even 40 years. When it comes to the growth, what's the best growth vehicles? Well, we might take a little bit of risk. And when we talk about risk, it could be stocks, it could be options, it could be bonds, it could be ETFs, maybe master limited partnerships, futures. We can take a lot of different opportunities into account when we step into that world of growth. Now we've filled our buckets of emergencies, we've filled our bucket for income and for long-term inflation protection. Now it's time to fill in the gaps with that estate planning. Those basic estate planning documents, some of our tax planning to make sure we cut Uncle Sam out of our will. And then lastly, if we don't take care of healthcare planning and put a strategy in place for potential home healthcare costs, assisted living costs, nursing home costs, it could be upwards of $10,000 a month. Are we going to be able to leave anything behind at all? And so we take these things one at a time, and it is in that order: liquidity, income growth, and estate planning. It's all about retirement efficiency and maximizing the efficiency of your retirement. So I want to share with you a little story about my wife and I. My wife and I went on a trip down to the Caribbean on our first anniversary several years ago. And when we went on that trip, we hopped on a bus like this. And this was an amphibious bus, and it was supposed to be a lot of fun. We got on this bus, had a glass bottom in it, and so we got to go out in the ocean, see the coral. And as we got in here, we're going really slow. I'm having fun, but wound as tight as I obviously am, I'm getting a little tired, a little bored, ready to go back to shore. But we're being passed by boat after boat and jet ski after jet ski, and I can tell we're going as fast as this thing can possibly take us. We're going full speed, and it's getting a little uncomfortable. There's those little plastic seats with steel bolts in them. Finally, we get back to shore. Once we get back to shore, now we're pedaling around in the city and getting a little tour of the island. But now mopeds are passing us, and we're going full speed all over again. And I'm going, boy, this thing's a little slow on water, it's slow on land, it's a little uncomfortable. It didn't have a seatbelt. Frankly, it's probably a little dangerous. It's trying to accomplish too many different things with one vehicle. That one vehicle being this bus. If we want a bus, we'll get a bus. If we want a car, we'll get a car. If we want a boat, we'll get a boat. That's what I'm talking about in your retirement, is finding the closest distance between 2 points, a straight line, so you can maximize your income and limit your risk. That is what retirement efficiency, and that is what the purpose-based retirement is all about.
Casey, I'm going to ask you to leave us with a quick one. Where do you see people making the biggest mistake in their allocations? Are they too heavy in growth, too close in safety, not enough liquidity?
Yeah. Well, in the interest rate environment we're in today, people are taking on more and more risk. They're getting heavier and heavier on that growth side, because that's all they've been thinking about for the last 20 or 30 years is growth, return on my investment rather than return of my investment. Now it's time to start thinking about income planning rather than growth planning.
So if you feel like you're kind of in that waterborne bus trying to do all things at once, we have an offer for you to kind of think about it a different way. For the next 10 people who call us right now, we offer a complimentary financial review of your entire financial and retirement plan, an opportunity to get an education about your money so you can make the very best decisions for yourself moving forward. So for the next 10 people who call right now at 482-9559, Casey and the team at Howard Bailey will make some time on their calendar, sit down, visit with you, and give you your very own purpose-based retirement. You can learn more about Howard Bailey Financial by visiting the website, howardbailey.com. You can email Casey at info@howardbailey.com. Who knows, we might feature you on a future broadcast. And we will see you next week.